This conference will now be recorded.
So
Hello?
very say
Yeah, actually, we missed everything from that PPT you have shared, right? Yellow box and red box, where the variable was one in both of them. So after that, we missed everything. I, UV,
in that time alone it is invoked working properly. So though I two of it is showing and that is yellow box object when I type it with yellow box dot as one. Similarly, red box object when I say it is printing bound because it is good as per the code, it is called only one. My expectation is to show the count, the overall count, how many objects are created. If I create two objects, it should say two. If I create a four object, it should print four. So in that cases, I should not have a variable inside the object concept. I have to keep it outside of the object concept. I have to have a variable that is tightly tagged to the object. It should be something it is tagged at the class level. For that only, I was showing the example of static. So what I have done is previously everything is at the like I was using a normal variable. Let me share the screen again. I'm sharing my editor now.
yeah, yes, yes.
Previously I was variable. Later on I have added a static keyword. Okay. So when I added the static keyword, I went back and checked here. Previously I had code like this. Let me go back to my old code. So code I had before. Okay. So dot box object count. I was printing like this. It started showing me error because going forward, this box object count is not at all tagged to the yellow box object or red box object. Basically, it is not tagged to a object at all because I added the keyword called static, so it will be aligned to the box level only. So the existing code started showing me error because I added a keyword code. In my case, so box object like this. Now,
Hello, UV? UV?
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, UV. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just one question, UV. I understood that you have added static variable at the class level, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is it? Actually, I missed your voice. How is it getting incremented? Because we, yeah, if you can tell that, say that again. Yeah,
Sure,
thank
sure.
you.
Yeah. See, I've told it that increment concept is same, whether it is a static or non-static. The logic is related to the constructor. When I show this code, okay, I was doing something like this, right? Box red box equal to new box, and I was calling the constructor, three argument constructor. When I give like this, it will call the three argument constructor. So whenever an object is created, constructor will be called. That we know, point number one. And which constructor it will call, it depends upon the argument I'm passing. So here I'm passing three arguments. So what it will do, it will go and call this three argument constructor. Inside the three argument constructor, what I did is, apart from my regular instance variable initialization, I have added this code called incrementing operation. So by default, this box object count variable would be 0, and I'm incrementing that. Whenever this particular constructor is called, this code will also be executed. So first time when this line is executed, this red box equal to new box 10 comma 15 comma 20, if this line is executed, that time the increment, it will one increment will happen. The box object count variable will be incremented by 1. Initially it will be 0, then it will become 1. Then this particular line will be executed, right? When this line executed, again one more increment operation will execute. So initial it is 1, so 1 plus plus, that is 2 will come. So this is how the incrementation is happening. The same thing will happen whether you're using static or non-static, but static means it will be at the overall level, at the class level I'm keeping it. But if I don't specify the static keyword, then it will be mapped again the object. So when I call this one, the object count would be 1. Okay, that will be a separate variable. You know very well that concept, right? Though the length, breadth and height I'm using for red box, length, breadth and height I'm using for yellow box, though the name is same, it is two different copies. So whatever changes I'm doing at the dimension of red box, it is not going to impact the dimension of the yellow box. So the box object count without the static keyword is also considered as a normal instance variable. It is not a static variable. So it will be tightly aligned with my object. So whenever I call this method, when I call this constructor, it is going to increment, but not at the overall. It will increment only for the red box, and it will keep the copy inside the red box only. If I do any modification later at the yellow box, it is not going to impact the red box. So when I call this one, it is going to impact only the yellow box. That's why previously the counts were showing 1 and 1. Now it is showing 1 and 2 because I'm keeping that at the global level. It is not a local kind of thing. Is it clear, Srini?
Yeah, just one more question, UV. So this particular static variable, it is accessible only within the constructor method of the class, right? It does not get exposed to the other parts of the program.
One thing. See, wherever I want inside the class I can do because it is tightly tagged with the class. So not only at the constructor, inside other methods. Set dimension is a normal method. It is not a constructor, right? So
Okay.
whichever method you have, you can use it. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Next thing is static method. Okay, so we want to know how many times the static methods are all called. So I'm going with the default static method. Okay, it is not the method with a static keyword. I'm going to create a static block. It is not even method, I would say. It is a static block. So how many times the static blocks can be called? So to execute that, I'm going to have one simple from the static block. Okay, some log statement alone I'm adding. I want to know when this particular block will be executed, the static block will be executed. So I have added one normal block. It is not a method, one normal block I have added. Inside the block, I am adding one print statement alone. So now just some usually some debugger we will run it, but it's early stage, right? So I'm writing some logs itself. By using the logs, we are going to trace at what point of time the static block is going to be executed, how many times the static block can be executed. Two things we are going to observe. So for that, I created one static block inside the class, and I'm going to uh, write one print statement. Okay, let's deal with a small example itself. So immediately after entering into this particular static main method, I'm going to say that inside main method. Okay, and two three places let's add. Okay, and here before redbox object creation, and one more place also I can do this piece of code I'm commenting, because I don't want much of the logs. I want only the logs related to the concept which I'm discussing now. Before yellow box object creation. Okay, and yeah, I think these logs are sufficient enough. So what I did is I added one static block, and I've added couple of logs here. Nothing much, no business logic, nothing. Okay, so this log is going to tell me when the static block is called and how many times it is called. Okay, after yellow box object created. Fine. I'm going to execute this code. Okay, let's see the logs here. First, it is saying inside the main method. Yes, immediately after entering into the main method, it is printing. Second thing is before the red box object creation. That is before the actual red box, the new keyword red box object creation, right? Before that, it is printing. Then it is printing something called from the static block. So when the static block is created, when you are creating an object, the static block is created. So this will be your interview question. That's why I demonstrated with an example itself and showing. And the static block will be executed when you are creating an object, it is executed. But how many times it is executed? So I created two objects, right? One is red box object, another one is yellow box object. So for redbox object, that log is printed. Is it appearing anywhere else? No, only once it is appearing. It means the static block is called only once, that too at the time of the first object creation. How many ever object you are creating, yellow box, purple box, blue box, it is not going to be executed. Only at the first object creation, you can see the static block execution. Okay, this will be your interview question. So I feel that if you see with an example, you can understand. That's why I write a code itself and I showed you. Next thing is static variable we have seen, static block we have seen. Now we are going to see something called static method. Okay, so there are some combinations like from static method to static method, non-static method to a static method, that and all we are going to play around now. So now I'm going to create. So the set dimension is a normal method. I have already shown, right? Apart from constructor, I have a normal method here called set dimension. Now I'm going to create, okay, one more method called static method. Okay, the name of the method is display box count. So I'm going to name like this, and I'm going to have one simple statement only. Okay, so something called print statement. I'm going to call it here. So count equal to box object count. So simple, nothing else. One simple print statement I'm doing. So I want to know the box count. So where and all I can use, how we can use. That's what we are going to discuss now. So I already told that static variable or the static method you cannot call with the object name. If I want to call this, okay, if I go and look at my demo class, okay, this is my class demo, right? This is the name of the class demo. The basic class, wherever I'm creating the methods and variable, it's a box class. This is the demo class. Inside the demo class only I have the main method. Here only I'm doing all this object creation and calling of the box class and all. So now red box, I already told, when I say red box dot, it will display all the methods and variables tagged with that particular object. If you look at this, I can't see the newly created display method. Why I can't see? Answer is very simple. I've used a keyword called static. Static means it is tagged at the box level, that is the class level. It is not tagged at the object red box level. Okay. So to access the display variable, what I can do? Previously, I was calling like this, right? The print statement and all. Let me comment all other things. I keep only the. Okay. So I am uncommenting these lines again. Okay. That is printing the box counts line. So red box object created, I'm printing the object count. Yellow box object created, I'm printing the object count. Instead of printing like this, what I can do? I can use the method. Okay. So instead of calling the usually, this is the correct approach. You cannot or you should not access a variable directly. The correct way of accessing a variable, okay, anyhow, I'll be covering the access modifier and other things, encapsulation concept and all. But before going into the topic, have one single line in the mind that if you want to access a variable, the correct approach is to use a method. Don't go directly that access that one. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is box dot. When I say box dot, can you see there are two things displayed for me? One is a variable field is there. Another one is a method. So this method I'm going to use it. Okay. I don't want this print statement at all because inside this method itself I have added the print statement, so I don't want the print statement anymore. So now after the red box creation, after the yellow box creation, two time I'm going to call this. Okay, and I'm going to run this also, this particular code. Now you can see it is giving me the same output, that even the same this particular log statement were there, right? Where I was printing the number of object created, it's 1 and 2. Same thing I'm getting an output, but now instead of a variable, I'm using a method, and using that method, I'm accessing it. So one important thing I'm going to display now. So you are asking me a question. Okay, it was a very good question. Can I access the static variable only inside the constructor? Can't I use it otherwise? Like I have shown, it is possible, but the vice versa is not going to work out. I have a static method, right? Inside the static method, if I want to access the non-static variable, that is the length, breadth, and height are all non-static variable. It doesn't have the keyword of static, so obviously it's a non-static variable. I cannot use it. Inside the static method, I cannot use a non-static. I cannot see it is really non-static field length cannot be referenced from the static context. But the vice versa, it is possible. I've shown, right? You are able to access it in other methods, that box count and all. But inside the static method, you cannot access the non-static variable. We can pull a static method only from a static. This is also, say, this is a static method, right? Inside this class, it's okay. If I want to access this the other way, it is going to show me a error. We can use the static data only in the static method, and the other ways also I've shown. Length you cannot access inside that. If you want to access the length, the non-static one inside the static, it is not going to allow you. Okay. So to access the non-static one, what we will be doing, we'll be creating an object or this keyword or something we'll be using. But this static means I have told in the beginning itself, it is at the class level, it is not at the object level, so it's not we cannot use it here. Okay. Any doubt in the static concept?
Yeah. Just one question, Yubi. When we are defining static variables, right? So initially their values are going to be like 0 and all, right? Initially.
Hmm. It depends
Is-
upon the data type which you are using. I've used
Okay, yeah,
integer.
yeah. Okay, yeah, got it, yeah.
Hmm.
So it will be like 0, like the normal other variables. Initially it's going to be 0 only, right? Integer
Yes.
ones.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Next topic, I think I can start. I have 5 more minutes. See, I have used something called this, right? Different type of constructor I've used, right? This is the three argument constructor. This is no argument constructor, right? I have one more constructor like this. Okay, so box, and the input of this constructor, it's a another object. Okay, if I have such constructor, okay, that is called copy constructor. So what I'm doing, I'm taking one object, and that object I'm assigning to a another object. So that is called copy constructor. So length equal to b dot length. So this b, the box, you very well know this is an object. This object will have one length that I'm assigning to the new object. I'll explain you. For now it will be little bit confusing. I'll run the demo so that you can easily understand. Okay, so this is copy, but how I can going to call here is, I have a, let me take something fresh. I have an object called b1. So I'm calling the x new box 6 comma 5 comma 3. Okay, so a box object called b1 is created, and if I want the other way, one more object I want to create, box b2, but here instead of saying new box 3 comma 2 comma 1 5 comma 4 comma 1, what I'm going to do here is new box b1. So what I'm doing, I have a object created called b1, and b1 has a dimension called 6 comma 5 comma 3, that I'm going to pass it here. So what exactly will happen here? The code, the 6 comma 5 comma 3 will be assigned to the b2 object. Clear? So this side is
Yeah.
b1, this side is b2. So you are copying. So this is called copy constructor. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think if I
So we
start
basically
another,
we are just copying the data, right? We're making the
yes,
data same for both the objects.
yes.
Oh,
So I think with this I will end today's session, because if I start the other thing, we have just 2 more minutes.
So will this be useful in real time, UV, this copying concept?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Why I'm telling this is, Srini, the practical thing is two type of developers are there. Okay, one
Okay.
developer is someone who do their own coding. Some developer who used to do some browsing and they used to get some code. Okay, if you're writing your code by yourself, you can write the logic and other things. If in case if you are depending upon others like any online thing or Git resource and all, if you come across this logic, you should be able to understand what they are actually did it. Then what you can do is either you can refer the same code or you can change it according to your understanding. So for that, at least you should know
Yes,
the
yes,
concept,
yeah.
right? This particular developer has used the copy constructor. Then only you can see that, boss, it's confusing for me, B1, B2 and all. I will go with my own way of doing code. Okay.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
up to us, but learning the concept is basic.
Right, right, yeah.
Okay.